After a rainy night, we returned to Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park for day 2. If you haven't seen the video for day 1 yet, maybe watch that first. Once again, I lined up behind Brian's HSV, which I found out from Glenn's video is running a 6-litre and Richmond 4-speed, rather than the 5.7 and 6-speed the car shipped with.
Yep.
First into day 2. Weather's still wet, which is good for me, but it's supposed to clear up later. Hopefully it doesn't, and it only ruins everyone else's weekend and not mine. I'm starting behind Brian in the HSV again, so quite a few people behind me in the slow grid, but conditions being what they are, I don't think it'll be an issue. There's is it David Brew in the Turbo Civic? That thing, I reckon, could catch me. His times yesterday weren't amazing, but if he gets it dialed, it'll be fast. Then there's just Ashneil, Rachel and Mark. Mark's disconnected his rear sway bar to try and find some traction in the rear. We'll see how well that goes. He's starting at the back at the moment. Rachel's E36 was doing BMW things, and not to be left out, the Triple S followed suit. Mark, of course, needed no encouragement. Things were shaken up a bit after the stint, with Anton and Greg fighting it out for top spot, while everyone else was mostly just waiting for the forecast clear weather. Luke pulled out a 156, just 2/10 behind Glenn Hodges, and 2 seconds clear of the Audi of Chris Sharp. Brendan Purdy and Ben van der Werf were unable to best their Saturday times, while further back, Mark Greeny and Dave Brew bested me, though not quite matching my Saturday time. Rachel Flynn was still chasing an intermittent misfire. Luke cracked another gearbox casing and decided to park up rather than risk destroying it entirely. This fucking bullshit drive.
33 minutes of 2K cap racing.
Approximately 400 2K Cup cars went out for their 33-minute race on a rapidly drying track. Anton Bryant, current round front runner, heads out. Greg Verse follows in hot pursuit. Glenn Hodges gets the memo eventually. Chris Sharp and his Audi in the process of taking the Pro Street lead off me. Brendan Purdy, his Commodore's fueling issues still not fully sorted. Ben van der Werf looking to improve on some pretty ordinary times in the Evo. board with Brendan here as Ben deploys a tyre-based smokescreen. He was forced to retire with fuel pumps again, not loving life. Equipment failures and a general feeling of CBF had me down from 5 cameras to 1 as I chased Mark into the final complex at the start of stint 5. I'd been running my old Director Z2s and ended up leaving them on for this run on the dry track, which was probably a mistake. The 888Rs might have yielded more pace. I was able to take some more aggressive lines now that putting a tyre on the white paint didn't result in instant wheel spin. My gear shifter bushing, which Cal and Reed had replaced with a piece of metal-lined gas hose at the 2K Cup 1 hour 2 years ago, was just starting to flog out again, making second gear a long reach to the left. Here's Dave Brew, finally able to put down the power from that turbo B18. I cut a 156.8, and still 6/10 clear of Rachel, and with both car and driver feeling pretty fatigued, I elected not to contest a 6th and final stint. Would that prove to be another mistake on my part? Watch and see. Here's my fastest lap, the 56.8, alongside Rachel's fastest from the 6th session. We did even through turn 1 and into 2, despite Rachel's sick D1s. She pulls out a couple of car lengths, nearly a quarter of a second with an aggressive line through 2 while I struggle to get turned in. I claw back most of it through the tricky turn 4. You can hear the misfire from Rachel's BMW here. There's less than a car length in it on the way up 7, and we're dead even again as I carry slightly more speed through 8. A good run through 9 puts me marginally ahead at corner exit, but even with that misfire, the BMW 6 has the legs. We're even again out of 11, but the misfiring BMW again drags off the centro. Trailing Ash Neil into the final complex, I just come right off the boil, and Rachel blitzes me through 12, 13 and 14 to cross the line with a 155.7. Smashing me by a second and change. There's a lesson there. As you'd expect, lap times tumbled that Sunday Arvo, with Ben finally finding serious pace in the Evo and pipping both Greg and Anton for top spot, though Greg hung in for all he was worth, knocking out 42s to stay clear of Brennan's 43.0. though that was enough to keep Glenn off the podium. I tumbled to the back of the grid with Ash Neil having improved his first round time by some 7 seconds. After an awesome but exhausting weekend, I packed up the Sentra for the 2-hour drive home, the moral victory now somehow failing to make up for the hassle of driving home in a 30-year-old hatchback that doesn't always want to stay in top gear. Next round is the season finale at Hampton Downs, which, as I mentioned previously, requires a forward head restraint, which requires a proper helmet and harness, which requires a harness bar. Rather than getting too drastic with the Sentra, I bought another car. More on that next time. I need to thank Mammoth Insulation for the sponsorship, Todd for being crew chief to about half a dozen of us, Kerry and Kaz for running an awesome event, Dad and Reed for helping out with everything from logistics to repairs to camera work, my fellow competitors, especially those of the GP Track Day Solid.